On Monday, December 6th, a group of students from Concordia University loaded onto a pair of yellow school buses. But this was not a regular field trip. The bus was loaded with concerned students, CSU members, Uber Culture, representatives from Free Education Quebec, and almost the entire staff of the Link. These impassioned and bundled students are on their way to Quebec City to protest tuition hikes. This is Emily Campbell for CUTV.
I'm Morgan Pedwell. I'm the Vice President of Sustainability and Promotions at the CSU. We have 2 buses. We've seen lots of buses on the road, so students are going to be part of the discussion, or hopefully be part of the discussion about how they're going to raise our tuition, because we already know what's going to happen. The tuition increases affect the whole society, I think. They affect students, of course, because them or their families or their loans are paying for it, but it also affects the culture around Quebec specifically, in the sense that students come here a lot of the time, or stay here a lot of the time, because it is such low tuition, and if you're raising tuition, you're going to change a lot of that culture in Quebec.
Remember the rules. Okay, but I'm not a journalist. I think this is the purpose of the tambourine.
My name is Lev Skill. I'm the program coordinator for Uber Culture. There was a time when people had a sense that, education was a right, and, while I think to some degree universities have always been finishing schools for the new imperialists, there was a sentiment at one point that people should be able to get educated, and that shouldn't be a life sentence of debt, right? And more, there's this rhetoric that if your university degree is a product, then the more you pay for it, the more valuable it is, and that's simply not true. Your university degree is actually worth less now than it was 20, 30 years ago, and access to education is really not that much better. If in 2012 the government is really serious and embarks on a plan to double tuition, right, which is what we're talking about, in the worst case scenario, people go home for the Christmas holidays and come back to $6,000 a year. The Minister of Education commissioned a report themselves, and the results of that report were that if that sort of increase were to take place, almost 50,000 students in Quebec would have to drop out of school. Ready? Set? Go! Oh!
I think that means I win, though.
You can do it!
Okay, I'm Nathan Jennings, and I major in anthropology. It's my first year at Concordia. Well, fortunately, I'm lucky enough to have my parents to, shoulder a lot of the cost. I contribute a little bit, but I'm lucky. For me, the tuition is not so much of a problem, but as a matter of principle, I think tuition going up is a problem, and there are many people who might otherwise want to get education, but they can't afford it, or they have to work their asses off to afford it. Because lots of people think that free tuition is kind of some kind of Pollyanna dream or something, but it's to everybody's advantage in the end, and it's not impossible. We supply many other things to citizens for free. Why can't we supply education? Like the principles that we outlined in our Constitution and our history suggest that we should. That's all I really have to say.
It would take 2 hours.
Must be free because it is a right and not something that you must buy, and that's not it's totally sad that in that society education is something reserved for people who have less money, and that's what the message they're giving to us.
Okay, my name is Magali, and I'm a student in the drama program at Université Laval. It's my 3rd year, so I'm gonna graduate in April.
So why are you here?
I'm here because it's gonna cost over $5,000 to finish my school and to graduate and to have my diploma, and I don't want this. You know, I got bills, I gotta pay my food, I gotta pay my apartment, and school.
Okay.
No.
If you could say one thing to the administration, what would you say?
Let me think. Stop being mean.
Je suis pas à l'université, je suis au cégep présentement.
Ok.
Mais je voudrais aller à l'université de l'UQAM.
Ok. Et pourquoi tu es ici maintenant?
Parce que justement, le gouvernement Charest veut augmenter les frais de scolarité jusqu'à 5 000 $, ce qui est complètement dérisoire. Parce que, par exemple, moi, admettons que le programme dans lequel je vais aller, j'aurais un salaire d'à peu près 30 000 $ par année. Donc, de rembourser tous ces frais-là, ça me prendrait des années et des années. Donc, et en plus de ça, le coût de la vie, c'est pas juste les 5 000 $ par année qu'il faut que je paye, et plus c'est le coût de ma vie, faut que je vive pendant ces années-là aussi. Donc ça m'empêche justement d'avoir une bonne qualité de vie. Si je devrais payer plus, je pourrais tout simplement pas aller à l'école.
Merci beaucoup.
De rien.
A funeral waltz sets the tones for students as they begin to disperse at the end of the tuition hike protest. Their actions today were noble, but most feel rather pessimistic about the future for Quebec students. The finance minister shows no signs of budging. Tuition will increase. The only question is, will it drive students away? This is Emily Campbell for CUTV.